Meet David, a fourth grade student at Tree Creek Elementary School. David's teachers describe him as smart, helpful, and a hard worker when he wants to be. David likes soccer and enjoys playing with his friends at recess. David's teachers also describe him as oppositional, stating that he refuses to comply with instructions and engages in other problem behaviors when asked to do something or stop doing something. Here's an example from Miss Jones' study hall. I appreciate how most of you guys are busy working this morning. Let me know if you need any help. David, put away that paper airplane. You know better than to be making those in my class. Get started on your essay right now.
This essay is stupid and I don't want to do it.
Oh man, he's at it again.
We've all worked with students like David. It can be frustrating to see a student's potential and times of success, but have many demands result in unfinished tasks, power struggles, and/or trips to the principal's office. My name is Shayna Bailey, and I'm a behavior support specialist at the North Central Arkansas Education Service Cooperative. I'm going to spend this behavior break sharing strategies for giving demands or telling a student to do something or stop doing something that may result in increased compliance and decreased power struggles, particularly for students who engage in oppositional and defiant behaviors. There are 3 strategies that I think of as basics or go-tos each time I give a demand. First, use a neutral and calm tone when giving a direction, and it is okay to say please. Second, tell the student exactly what they need to do. Describe the actions you expect them to engage in, such as start reading on page 3. Avoid yes or no questions, such as, are you ready to get started reading? This implies that you're giving the student the opportunity to say no. Also, avoid adding okay to the end of your demand, such as start your reading, okay? This also implies to the student that it's an appropriate option to say no or it's not okay. Third, give the direction and move away. When possible, you want to give the student time to comply and reduce the opportunities for a power struggle. Let's take a look at Mrs. Jones using these 3 basic strategies to deliver a direction to David. I appreciate how most of you guys are busy working this morning. Let me know if you need any help. David, we're in study hall. Please get started on your essay. How's it going over here, Ben? Here, I used a calm and neutral tone to provide directions to David. I stated what I wanted him to do, start writing his essay, then I moved away to check in with another student in order to give David time to comply. Embedding choice into a demand can allow the student a small amount of control. For example, when instructing a student to join a small group activity, you might give the student the choice of which small group to join. Choice can be embedded in a lot of different ways. To name a few, the student might be allowed to choose which task to complete or how to complete a task, such as writing a written book report or giving an oral presentation over a book they just finished. The student might be allowed to choose which materials to complete the task, such as writing with a pen, pencil, or marker. The student might be allowed to choose when to comply, such as cleaning up their desk area immediately or after returning from lunch. Choice could also be provided in terms of where to work in the room or with whom to complete a task. When embedding choice into a direction, it is important to provide discrete options and avoid open-ended choices. Also, make sure that each choice option you provide is the right answer. In other words, each choice option should allow the student to comply with the demand. Lastly, make sure to embed choice in the demand the first time you give it to the student, rather than using choice as a strategy for redirecting problem behavior following an initial demand. This will ensure that choice is used as a preventative strategy rather than a reactive strategy. Let's take a look at Mrs. Jones using choice when delivering a direction to David.
I appreciate how most of you guys are busy working this morning. Let me know if you need any help. David, would you rather write your essay on paper or type on this Chromebook?
I want to use the Chromebook.
Great choice. How are you doing over here, Ben?
Here, David was given the choice to complete his essay using a Chromebook or pencil and paper. Both choice options allowed David to complete the task. It may be helpful to provide a rationale before providing a direction. When you provide a rationale, you tell the student why they need to do something before asking them to do it. For example, assume that a student was out of line and skipping around during a transition to the cafeteria. You might say, "I want to keep everyone safe and make sure we get to lunch on time. Please walk in line." Let's take a look at Mrs. Jones providing a rationale when giving a demand to David.
I appreciate how most of you guys are busy working this morning. Let me know if you need any help.
David, you need to complete your essay today so you have time to watch the video with the class tomorrow. Please get started.
How's it going over here, Ben?
Here, I provided David a rationale for why he needed to complete his essay prior to telling him to get started. The rationale was that David needed to complete the essay in order to be able to watch a movie with his class. Declarative language can be used to deliver demands. This means you verbalize your thoughts or describe the current situation rather than telling the student exactly what to do. For example, assume that a student's desk is littered with materials used in tasks earlier in the day and it's time for writing journal. Rather than saying, "Put your materials away," you might use declarative language to say, "It is going to be hard to complete your writing journal with all of those materials on your desk." Use of declarative language allows the student the opportunity to decide what to do next or how to solve the problem. This way, compliance with the demand is the student's idea. This may reduce the likelihood of power struggles. Let's take a look at Mrs. Jones using declarative language when delivering a direction to David.
I appreciate how most of you guys are busy working this morning. Let me know if you need any help. I hope everyone completes their assignments today and gets them turned in before the weekend. How's it going over here, Ben?
Here, I use declarative language by describing my thoughts about wanting students to complete their essays before the weekend. I then walked away to check in with another student. This allowed David time to think about his next steps or think about how he might solve this problem. He then began working on his essay. Previewing the demand is another strategy that can be useful when delivering demands. This means you warn the student that a demand is coming sometime before giving the actual demand. For example, a student arrives in your classroom and you warn the student that you will be asking them to read a book with you right before lunch. This allows the student to get past the initial agitation created by the demand before actually needing to comply with the demand. Let's take a look at Mrs. Jones previewing the demand with David. Good morning, David. Just a heads up, I'm going to ask you to write your essay during study hall today.
I appreciate how most of you guys are busy working this morning. Let me know if you need any help. David, we're in study hall. Please get started on your essay. How's it going over here, Ben?
Here is an example of previewing the direction. I spoke with David in the hallway prior to class to let him know that I would be asking him to complete his essay during study hall. Delivering demands indirectly or privately can also be useful. Delivering demands indirectly can include passing a note to the student with the demand written on it, or providing a nonverbal signal or cue to the student, such as putting your finger to your lips to tell the student to be quiet. Indirect demand delivery could also include praising students who are engaging in the behavior that you want your student to engage in. For example, assume that your student is out of their seat and wandering the room. You might turn to a peer who is seated appropriately and say, "Thank you so much for sitting so nicely in your chair," rather than telling your student to sit down. Delivering demands privately can mean you go to the student and speak where only the student can hear you, or you deliver the demand in a private setting, such as in the hallway. The last strategy that we're going to discuss today is switching adults. To avoid power struggles, it may be useful for one adult to give an initial direction and then another adult to follow up with the student and redirect if the student does not comply with the initial direction. Thank you for joining me today to discuss strategies for delivering demands. You may have noticed in the video clip examples with David that the strategies we covered were almost always used in combination. The basic strategies of using a neutral tone, stating what you want the student to do, and delivering the direction and moving away when possible were used in combination with the other strategies, such as previewing the demand, using declarative language, and providing a rationale. It'll be important for you to use each of these strategies and figure out what strategies and combinations of strategies will be most effective for you and for your individual students. All of the strategies that we covered today came from two different books. The first book is called The Behavior Code, a practical guide to understanding and teaching the most challenging students by Jessica Minahan and Nancy Rappaport. The other book is The Behavior Code Companion, also authored by Jessica Minahan, Strategies, Tools, and Interventions for Supporting Students with Anxiety-Related or Oppositional Behaviors. These books have many useful interventions in addition to the ones that we covered today for giving demands. If you haven't read these books, I encourage you to add them to your resource library. Thanks again for joining me for this behavior break.